Okay. Good evening. And before I just start, I just wanted to introduce our teaching assistants for you all, who actually are everything behind this particular project. So if the our TAs could turn on the camera so that I could introduce them to you. All I can say is Shiv, who is TA 17 BDM. If you can just do a bye, I mean, just say a bye. So that's Shiv for you. From IIT Madras, there's Jalu, who's there? Jalu from IIT Madras. Then we have Abhishek. Can I see Abhishek? I'm not able to see Abhishek. If you're there, you can just wave your hand. And we have Seema, we have Pranami, we have
Yes,
yeah, this is Abhishek. Yeah, so that's Abhishek. He's also from IIT Madras. We have Pranami. I hope she's there. We have Anshul. We have Seema. And Aditya and you, me, you anyways know. But these are we have Devendra. As you see, you can just wave your hand. So it's Devendra also from IIT Madras. So these are the people who are actually behind all your work. I mean, the comments that you get, the wonderful comments that you get, whether it is acceptance, rejection, they go through all your reports and they give you feedback. And in the future sessions, so today in fact they will also be there in this particular pitching process, and in the future sessions we will make sure that you have sessions with them so that you understand from their perspective as to what they take into consideration when they evaluate a report. Is that okay? Shall I begin, Aditya? Is it okay to start? Yeah. Okay. So the first thing is what this session will not be on today. The session as I said in the email, there would be two things. The agenda of the session is two things. The first thing is that I think somebody needs to mute themselves. I can, okay. So the first thing is that I would be teaching or speaking about professional selling process and what professional selling is and how we can draw parallels to the BDM Capstone project. So that is the first part. And the later part would be pitching based on what you have learned. So we are not going to clarify doubts here. And if you have doubts, Aditya has floated a Google form and you can fill in your queries in these Google forms. And what will be done is that if the number of queries are more than, let's say, 30 or 40, this Sunday he'll be taking a session wherein all your doubts will be cleared. So there would be nothing related to no queries would be addressed, but this is what I'm planning to cover. Okay, is that okay? Fine. Okay, where's my screen? Are you all able to see my screen? I'm just sharing it. Able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
it's visible.
Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Are you able to see the slide on selling?
No, no, I don't think it's like.
No, slide is not visible, but your
Slide is not
screen is
visible?
there.
Not yet, yes.
Not yet. Okay. I don't know what is happening. So,
I think
let
you
me
are
check.
infinite mode, the
No, no.
infinite window mode.
No, it's not incognito. Let me check again. Hmm, some problem. Yeah, I think now it should be fine.
Yeah, it's
Is it okay?
now showing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, visible.
Okay. Okay. So we are not going to record this. I mean, we will be recording for our purpose. However, uh, Aditya, are you recording this? Okay, fine. But this recording would not be shared
Yeah,
because
it is recorded, but it should not be shared with the participant.
this will be used for our purposes. Just to make sure that just tell you on this one. And what we are going to discuss here is on selling techniques, the 7 steps of professional selling, and how do we draw parallels to the BDM Capstone project. So what is selling all about? So we come across terms like marketing, we come across terms like sales, and every time when I ask questions in the class, what is marketing and sales, everybody tells me it's the same, but two of them are two different extremes, right? So what is this? By the way, this is a subject which I kind of teach in 9 classes across like 18 hours, but I'm going to compress it and going to deliver it in the next 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes or so. Okay, and once I kind of discuss the concepts, you will be able to slowly understand as to how this can be actually connected to your BDM Capstone project. So to start with the definition of sales, so what is the selling? So anytime we know that if we want to sell, we need two entities. And what are those two entities? If I can just use my board, so we need a seller, which I write it as S, and we need a buyer, maybe, which is not visible there. Okay, we need a seller and we need a buyer. A buyer is also called as customer. The seller sells the offerings to the customer, but at a profit, which is very, very important. In your basic economics, you would have read that if the selling price is greater than cost price, we have a profit. If the selling price is less than the cost price, we have a loss. And if the selling price is equal to the cost price, we say that there is no profit, no loss. And there are different techniques which the sales organizations use to kind of woo the customers or persuade customers, and that is what we refer to as selling techniques. Uh, Now let me before I move next and proceed with certain terminologies, I want to let you know what B2B and B2C is. Now you would have come across terms. So in your rubrics as well, I mentioned that it could be a B2B or B2C. Now let's try to understand what B2C is. Now, B2C refers to business to consumer. Let's say that you have Amazon and you buy something from Amazon. So you have on the one side Amazon, which is a business, and it is you who is the customer. So this particular exchange, we call it as B2C. But let's say that you have Amazon and it is IIT Madras or my institute ESEC buying from it. Ishwar, I'll take questions later. I'll be taking the questions later because otherwise it will waste a lot of my time here. So if you have a business which is let's say Amazon, and if it is IIT Madras, and if they are buying something, then it is referred to as B2B because both of them are actually into business. Now there are different differences between B2B and B2C. And why do you need to know this? This is because when you do your BDM Capstone project, if it is a B2C, then they behave in a different manner compared to what B2B behaves like. Now what are the primary differences? The first thing is that in B2C, the end consumer, the end customer is an individual like me and you. Like, I want to buy a phone from Amazon. It is more of a B2C. Whereas in B2B, the end customer is a business. So this is the first difference. Okay. Then we come to the second difference. Like if I want to buy a phone, let's say the decision is made by myself. I mean, I make my decisions, or maybe I consult my family and friends. So that is what happens in B2C. Whereas in B2B, one person does not make the decisions. Why? Because the purchase, the purchase value is very, very high. It runs into millions of dollars or millions of rupees. And for that purpose, what is being done is that one person doesn't make the decision. The decision is made by something called as DMU, which is called as decision making unit, and it is also called as buying center. The third difference is that the purchase value is very, very higher in B2B, and the purchase value is lesser in B2C. What do I mean by this? For example, if you buy like 50 apparels, it could maximum at cost you some lakhs, but one software or one product could actually run in millions of dollars or millions of euros. Now that is very, very important. The fourth difference is price elasticity. Now, price elasticity is higher in B2C. It is lesser in B2B. Now, what is this price elasticity? When your price is changing, what happens to the demand? If the increase in price, when there is an increase in price, is the demand fluctuating? That is what price elasticity typically captures, which you would have also learned in BDM. So price elasticity is higher in B2C. Your price elasticity is lower in B2B. And in B2B, there is something unique, which is called as, there might be something called as reciprocity. Now, what is this reciprocity? Reciprocity means that I buy from you, you buy from me. That typically happens in B2B. In B2B kind of arrangements, it is mostly called as reciprocal relations, if you heard terms like this. Now, what is this reciprocal relationship? You as a customer, I am buying from you, but at the same point of time, the supplier is also buying from me. Such kind of arrangements are typically not in B2C. And there are 27 other differences, which any book, if you go through, you will find out. I'm not going to go more on that, but there are many, many differences which is there. Now, there are different selling techniques, and it is very, very essential for us to understand. Now, why did I touch upon these differences? Is that when you're approaching B2B organizations, the first step in your capstone project is, I said that there is a decision-making unit. So the person that you speak to really matters a lot. Okay, let's say that you are speaking to a person, but that person is not the decision-making or authority. He or she would not be in a position to kind of, commit you something. So it is very, very essential that you identify the right person who you think can actually help you out in getting this done. Now, there are different selling techniques which typically the sales organization uses. The first being direct selling. Now, what is this direct selling? Is that you have a salesperson, and the salesperson sells directly to the customer. So there is nobody in between the customer and the salesperson. So it is direct selling. Now, what I'm doing is like direct selling, like assuming that you're the customers, I'm the salesperson. So what I'm doing is something called as direct selling. We have indirect selling, which is also in B2B. What is indirect selling? You have intermediary, which is you have somebody who is connecting the buyer and the supplier. So that is what we call as indirect selling. You know, retailing, which is in Ocean or your Big Bazaar or your Reliance Trends, Carrefour, Monoprix, all these things do more of retail selling. You know what wholesaling is. So I'm not going to touch more on that. Online selling, mail order selling, which is catalog based selling, so on and so forth. Now, there is something called a selling approach, which is very, very important. So I just wanted to show you that, let's say that if this is a big cake, which I have, your selling approach is a bigger set, and your selling technique is a piece of this particular cake. If you consider selling approach as a big cake, so selling technique is a part of it. So now what is the stimulus response selling? So these 5 selling approaches were typically used in B2B earlier, but now with time, what has happened is 3, 4, and 5 is popularly used for B2B, and for 1 and 2 is particularly used in B2C. Now, what is the stimulus response selling? Stimulus response selling, by definition, is called unstructured way of selling. Now, what do you mean by unstructured? Unstructured means there is no order that is being followed. Let's say that you walk into let's say lifestyle stores, which is very popular apparel thing in India, where you have lots of apparels. Now, you see that 50% sales is there, buy one get two offer is there, there are certain card offers, so on and so forth, right? Is that a stimulus? The answer is yes, and you have a response. So typically impulse buying can happen, which means we did not plan and go. We just got exposed to this particular stimulus, and because of a stimulus, there is a response. The other example is, let's say that you go to a mall or anywhere outside, you get the smell of coffee. Is that a stimulus? The answer is yes. And when there is a stimulus, there is always a response. So it typically comes from the touch me not plant. Most of you might know it, the touch me not plant, right? Mimosa pudica, you touch its leaves, you give a stimulus, there is a response. The leaves kind of close. Now, the thing in this particular stimulus response selling is it is unstructured. Now, what do I mean by unstructured is, let's say that Abhishek comes into lifestyle. He gets to see 50% off, buy one, get 3, and there is a card offer, loyalty points, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is what is given to Abhishek. But then Shiv comes in, I do the same thing, but the order is not the same. The order changes. So if there are 123 people who are in, I show you the same things, but the order is not the same. The order keeps changing. Now, that is what I call as unstructured way of selling. The second one that we have is what we call as mental state selling. Now, what is this mental state selling? The mental state selling is the structured way of selling, which means that irrespective of 123 of you coming in together, the approach is going to be the same for all 123. If Abhishek comes in, I go 1, 2, 3, 4. If Shiv comes in, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. If Ankit comes in, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm just going to follow the same process throughout. Now, what we now come across, so for the first 2 are most commonly used in B2C, but now what you see is more of B2B, and from here onwards, you will see that this is important for your BDM Capstone project. Now, what is this need satisfaction selling? The most important thing is to understand the needs of the customer. So this is the first important point. So most of them write that we have reached out to 10 businesses, 15 businesses. We asked for data, but they did not give us. The first thing is that if in the very first meeting, if you ask them for data, definitely they would not be giving it to you. First, you need to establish a rapport, which I'll be kind of discussing in the coming slides. But most importantly, it is understanding the needs. Now, what is this need satisfaction selling? You are trying to understand the needs of the customer. And then once the customer tells you the need, you are kind of crafting your solutions. You are giving your offering to them. So that is what we call as need satisfaction selling. And in need satisfaction selling, the customers are not aware of what they want. So this is what we call as need satisfaction selling. Okay. And the next one that we have is something called as problem solving selling. Now, what is this problem solving selling? The problem solving selling is nothing but here the customers are aware of what they want. So the customer is clearly telling me that, okay, we want these products, and this is what you're supposed to give it to us. So in the previous one, which we saw it as need satisfaction selling, the customers are not aware of what they want. Whereas in problem solving selling, the customers are aware as to what they want. And then finally, there is something called as consultative selling, which is one of the most popular selling approaches. I'll not go through this because this is not something which I want to cover, but you can have a look at it. Now, what's very, very important is the 7 steps of selling. From here on, it will be applicable for your capstone project. Now, if you look at this, the shape is a pyramid. And if any of you can tell me why it is the case, if in the chat box or something, if you think why is that the shape is a pyramid, why is that it is a pyramid shape, if you can just type it in the chat box, I'll give you 20 seconds. If you can just give me the reasons why do you think the shape is the pyramid? Can it be an inverted pyramid, so on and so forth? Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first thing is this. Let me give you an example. Okay, it's a funnel, so on and so forth. Okay, fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the comments for now because it is keeping on popping on my screen. So if you look at, let's say you walk into a shopping mall, let's take Decathlon stores, which is in India anyway, right? So let's say on a Saturday, 100 people walk into Decathlon stores. Are all 100 your customers? The answer is no. 100 people walk in. Definitely not all 100 are your customers. 100 people walked into Decathlon stores. Let's say that 50, 60 tried the products. Now, out of these 50, 60 will all be buying it. The answer is still a no. You may end up with 10 or 20 people who buy your product. So that is why it is converging. The shape is that of a triangle. You get the point. Now in B2C, the number of customers are very high. Okay, the B2C, if you look at the number of customers are very, very higher. But if you do look at B2B, the number of customers are very, very less. The number of customers in B2B are always lesser in comparison to B2C, but the volume of transaction, the value is very, very higher in B2B than in B2C. This is the first step. I'm not going into the details of this thing because I don't want to bore you much. But the first step, that we have here is what we call as prospecting. So if you look at those 7 steps, the first step is what we had was prospecting. Now let's say that what is this prospecting? The prospecting is nothing but it's all about finding who could be the potential customers for a business. Now similarly, when you're doing your projects, the first thing that you need to think is that who are the potential people whom we can approach. Now this is what prospecting is. Are you seeing a parallel to sales? The answer is yes. So prospecting in sales means who could be the potential customers for a business. And how do you identify prospects? So typically what do companies do is that companies do something called as inbound marketing and outbound marketing. Now, what is this inbound marketing? Is that in inbound marketing, the companies do not chase their customers. They put all their details on the website. So just give me a minute. It's like sweating badly. Yeah. So in inbound marketing, what happens is that the companies do not chase their customers. So rather what they do is that they put all their informations on their website. Okay, they put all the details on their websites. They do something called as search engine optimization. They give details like contact us. If you have any queries, and you can just contact us, and so on and so things. I mean, these are the things which the companies do when they do inbound marketing. Now, which are the brands which are very good at inbound marketing? Companies like Apple are very, very good at inbound marketing, which means that you are not chasing your customers. The customers are actually coming to you. So this is called as inbound marketing. The second part that we have is what we call as outbound marketing. Now, what is this outbound marketing? In outbound marketing, I'm actually chasing the customers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do email, I'm going to send you emails, or I'm going to do marketing automations, so on and so forth is what we classify as outbound marketing. So if as a company, I go behind my customers, then it is called as outbound marketing. So if you ask me what customer testimonials or customer reviews are more of inbound marketing. Now the brands which are very, very strong, they do more of inbound marketing, which is around 80%. And the brands which are relatively new to the market, most of them who do not know about it, they do more of outbound marketing. Okay, so that is how it works. And when you do inbound and outbound marketing, you find who are your potential customers. Now you may ask me, how is this relevant to your project? The first step that you have to do is not think about the data, what data to collect, which is wrong, which I again want to emphasize here. What I actually told you first was that you identify a business. Now, how do you identify a business? Just like we do prospecting in selling, you also need to do prospecting. Is there anything which is near around us? Can we reach out to our friends, their relatives, so on and so forth? Now, this is what you do. Try to collect as much information about possible. Okay, and it should also be a personal motivation, right? Okay, maybe there are many domains, you have many alternatives available, but let's say that you're not interested in pursuing them. So that could also be the case with some of you. Like, you have many alternatives, but you may feel that, okay, I don't want to do with this. Pritika, any question related to this teaching?
Oh yes, sir. Actually, if I'm not want to approach any like friends or relatives, and if I want to like pitch in some company, so
Yeah.
then how would
Yeah.
that go?
Yeah, that is coming in step 2 actually. So that is called as approach. I'm coming to that. Okay.
Okay.
So what we do is, the first step is we do prospecting. So what we do is we look for things around us. We see that, okay, should I approach my friend? Should I approach my relatives, family? Now the answer is no. The next thing is, should I approach companies, so on and so forth. Now this is very, very important. So prospecting is something which is very, very important. Now let's say that what the sales companies do is that, now this is about identifying customers, right? We all want customers. Why? If there are no customers, then there's no business. So once prospecting is done, let's say that we identified 1,000 customers. Let's say that roughly I identified 1,000 customers, the sales companies. Now the question is, are all of them your customers? The answer is no. You know that all of them are not our customers, and definitely if we approach 1,000 of them, a lot of our time is wasted. So what we do next, the companies do next, is they do something called as targeting. Now this is also something which you need to do. Now what is this targeting? Of these 1,000 customers, or let's say 15 businesses you have identified, you are going to do something called as BANT. This is what sales company does, and parallelly something equivalent scale which you can decide. The first thing is, does the customer have a budget? If the customer does not have a budget, they would not buy it. Second thing is, do the customers have a need? If the customers have a need, they'll buy it. If the customers do not have a need, they would not buy it. The third thing is, am I speaking to the authority? This is very, very important. Most of the times what has happened is, a student has spoken to somebody, and then he or she has said an yes, and at the last moment jilting has happened. Now what is this jilting? Jilting happens very commonly in B2B, a term which, please remind me to explain you what jilting is at a later stage. But at the last moment, the manager or somebody who is in charge kind of says that no, it is not possible. So you have to make sure that the person you're speaking to is the authority, somebody who has the power to say a yes or no. And finally, is there a time frame? So this is what companies does. Are they wanting to purchase something immediately now or at a later stage? So I want to ask you guys a question. In B2B, if the customer says yes, I have a budget, I'm speaking to the authority. The customer also says I have a need. Everything BAN is yes, but the customer says that, look, I need some time, maybe 6 months to 1 year. So should I include them as a prospect or should I remove them? What is the answer? Yes or no? Do you think we should include the customers or we should exclude the customers? In the chat box, you can just type.
So it's off.
Chat
Is question?
isn't available, sir.
Pardon?
Sir, the chat isn't
Oh,
available.
sorry. Chat is disabled. Sorry. Okay. So what do you think?
So, okay, fine.
Okay. The answer is that what you do, so I'll just disable the chat again because so many things are coming in, sorry. So what you actually do is you kind of include those customers, because look, in B2B, the decision, if I want to buy a mobile phone, let's say that I want to buy a mobile phone, the decision is made pretty faster, right? Because it's an individual who is making decision. At most, I might decide in a day or take maximum a week. Okay, that's max, depending on the budget, but still within a maximum by a week. Or let's say if it is a luxury item, I might take 1 month max to decide. But if it is B2B, the decision making is not faster. You take a lot of time to decide, because firstly, the amount that is involved is very, very high. Secondly, if there is any wrong decisions that you've made, suppose you chose a supplier and they're pretty bad, then there are consequences that you face for, I mean, as an organization, you face consequences. That is, not only you as an organization is impacted, your clients are also impacted. I'm just giving a random example. Let's say that you're an automobile maker. You decide to buy tires from company X, which is relatively new organization. The tires are not of good quality. Everything, it is sold to the customer, and there is some accident. You see, there is a negative inheritance of domino effect, which means that if there is a problem from one chain, it is impacting all the actors which is involved in the particular network. So this is why it is very, very important. Okay, so there is a negative inheritance of domino effect in B2B, which means that if there is a mistake which happens at the upstream, everybody in the downstream gets impacted completely. So that is what happens. So when you do this targeting, what the salespeople do is that the set narrows down. Funneling is happening. I saw a keyword which was mentioned as funneling. So from 1,000, now I have come to 50. Now this 50 is the list of customers whom I'm going to approach. Now, which is better? Is 1,000 better or 50 better? The answer is 50 is better. Why? Because 50, the probability of your 50 being your customers is more higher than 1,000 being your customers. And how do you do this band? It is very, very simple. You basically look for information which is available, and authority is just that you speak once and do it. Now this kind of saves your time rather than you going with 1,000. Is that okay? Is this clear until here or not clear? If it is clear, am I going faster? Am I speaking faster?
Sir, I think so. I don't get
Okay, sir.
you are telling right. Targeting means why we can't target maximum customers, 1,000 customers instead 50 customers, because
No, yeah,
probability is
Dalio, the point is this. Yeah, Dalio, the point is this. 1,000 are the customers identified from prospecting. Now, the point is, will 1,000 be our customers? The probability is very, very less. Now, if I'm a sales team, obviously as an organization, I have, now let's say that you have identified 25 businesses. Do you want to approach 25 business is your question? No, the answer is you will waste a lot of your time and resources approaching 25. So rather, what you do is you do some calculations within yourself. Like in sales, what they do is they do something called as BANT. Now, what they do in BANT is the first thing is they'll ask, they'll look and they'll see that, is this company having a budget? If the answer is yes, you proceed. Is this company having a need? The answer is yes, we proceed. If the company is having a budget, but the company is not having a need, then the customers would not buy from you. So that is something which you need to
we are doing
always keep in
sampling.
mind.
We are from
Yeah, you're
population.
basically, yeah, not from population to this thing, but from that 1,000 that you identified, you are actually funneling down. I mean, the list is slowly coming down. Now, let's say that giving example to your project, you might have thought that, okay, 15, 20 are there. From 15, 20 is your prospect to coming down to 3 or 4 is your targeting. You get the point? Is this okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that is what it is. Now, the next thing that you need to do is never stick to like one business. If suppose you know the person in and out very well, then it is fine. Otherwise, the best thing always to do is do not meet anybody directly and say give data. Okay, the first thing you should always do it. So first let me explain selling process, and then we extend do a parallel to the your BDM project. Now, the next step the sales organization does is that now 50 customers have been identified. I do something called as pre-approach. Now, what is this pre-approach? Pre-approach is we collect information about the customers before we meet them face to face. Now, giving you an example, if you have not understood this, will you attend your interviews without finding more about the company? The answer is no. Before you attend the interviews, what you will be doing? You will read about them. Where are the companies? What kind of products, services they make? How many branches they have? What is their network? That is what we call as pre-approach. You are collecting as much information about the customers before you meet them. Similarly, when you're doing projects, once you have kind of identified, the best thing that you could do is try to collect whatever information is possible before meeting them. Why? You might think that this is irrelevant, not necessary, but actually this matters because you might give them certain insights which they might also not know at this stage. So this is called as pre-approach. Now the next step is what we call as approach process. Now, what is this approach process? Now you're meeting the customer face to face. Now you've collected the information, and once the salespeople collect the information, they try to collect as much information as possible. And once the information is collected, what they do next is that they meet the customers face to face. Now, initially I told you some selling techniques, right? There was direct selling, indirect selling. If it is B2B, it is direct and indirect. What could be the approach? The approach could be need satisfaction selling. It could be problem solving selling. It could also be consultative selling. So these could be the different kinds of sales approaches. Now, when you approach the customers, the most important thing is we have to follow what is called as PSP process. This is very, very important, where P refers to being polite. Okay, your S refers to being sympathetic or empathetic, and B becoming professional. Now, of late, when even you guys send us email or whenever you send emails to everybody, very, very important is that first try to see if there are certain FAQs given, go through it, things like that. Now, similarly, when you approach business, if you simply go and just tell them give the data, nobody is going to give it. Rather, if you do some groundwork, if you find some information about them, then actually, the probability that they would be interested in discussing with you something is very, very high. Now, for example, yesterday I had received an email from somebody, and he just writes to me saying that I had a look at your profile and I wanted to do PhD under your guidance on plastic waste. Now, the person has not even done some pre-approach on me. I work completely on marketing and sales, and plastic waste is not something which is related to my domain. So did he do the pre-approach? The answer is wrong. So you get the point. So he or she has no idea as to what is the domain that I work on. And then if you're sending an email like that, you definitely don't get response. But then usually I have the habit of replying. So I said that this is definitely not the domain that I work on. So the student simply writes that I had a look at your profile and it says that you work on this, wherein I have never claimed that I work on something like plastic waste. Now, that is where it is very, very important. So this approach is very, very important. Now, what do we do in this particular approach process is very, very important. Let's go. Yeah. The first step is to be polite. So now what is that you need to do is dress appropriately. Most importantly, smile. Whenever you're speaking, smile. Dress appropriately, at least decently. Maintain eye contact. That is very, very important. Whenever you're speaking, it's why am I teaching you all this? Your project is not just data collection. Come out of that particular mindset. If your seniors have said that this is data collection process and kuch nahi hota hai, that is wrong. You have to go step by step. If you want data, it is not just you directly ask data. You have to follow certain ground rules, and that is why this session has been crafted to make you understand what are the basic etiquettes that are expected before you kind of proceed. Now you kind of dress appropriately. You maintain a good posture, not bend like this. When you shake your hand, make sure that it's not just 3 fingers. It's just a firm shake hand like this, proper shake hand. Avoid sweaty palms. Why? Because if you have sweaty palms, it's yuck and disgusting. So you make sure that you're clean, it is dry, and you shake hands and you introduce yourself professionally. Now this is what you do in your politeness. So that is the first step. And you can even ask them, can I take a seat? If it's a company you're going there, don't directly go and sit. Just ask, is it okay if I can sit? This is very, very important. This is what we call as being polite. Okay, now when you apply these mantras and try in your project, the probability that you'll get a better response is much higher than not doing this. The second step is what we call as sympathetic. Now, what is this sympathetic? In sympathetic, we use different kind of openers. Maybe one opener is you introduce yourself, which I call as introductory opener, which is I introduce myself. I say that my name is Ashwin, and I'm an assistant professor of marketing and sales at ESX School of Management, Paris. I'm here to explore if there are any, recruitment or what do you say, internship or placements for our students, something like that. Now, that is what an introductory opener is. The second kind of opener is a referral opener, which is very, very good. Now, let's say that your friends, now you might be, when you want to do your project, you would be asking your friends also. You'll be exploring your network, right? And networks are very, very powerful. Mind you, this is very, very powerful. B2B works completely on networks. Recommendation networks means a lot in B2B. B2B is more of long-term relationships. I couldn't discuss everything because I don't want to bore you guys giving my lecture. But the thing is, these are certain things which you need to read. But if you guys are interested, we can have an in-depth discussion like for 3 or 4 classes, wherein I can explain you all these concepts. Now, what you do is B2B always works on long-term relationships, and recommendations do matter a lot. So suppose if your friend has recommended you, say that, okay, let's say that I'm seeing Harshil, and I say that Harshil, you can go to Sanjeev, and I know Sanjeev. So then what you have to do is you introduce yourself. The second thing you use is what we call as a referrals opener, referral or a acquaintance opener, where I say that Sanjeev, I got to know about you from Harshil. This is very, very important. Okay, this is reference opener. Now, when you give a referral, the person would actually be much interested. You see this actually works in real life as well, because then he might take interest because he knows me very well. All these things matters. But let's say that you're not being polite, and if you go and say, Ashwin asked me to meet you, then the way you speak, everything matters in life. The way you speak, the way you conduct, the eye contact, the shake, and so on and so forth. The third step is to give compliments. If let's say that Sanjeev's company or Sanjeev has got some award, make sure that when you do this pre-approach step, it is the right thing that you have understood. Okay, congratulations on winning your award. The ambience of your company is very nice, so on and so forth. Just give them certain compliments. Okay, some nice compliments. Try to speak about something like sports. Okay, there are things like, you can speak about sports or things like that. Avoid 3 things when you always speak. The 3 things that you should never speak is on politics, religion, and family. You should never speak on that because your purpose is not there. Why? Because when I was working long back, we had a customer, and there was a nice portrait of the customer because he was from West, and there was a young girl, and he said, is that your daughter? And he said, no, it's my wife. So, it's always important that we don't discuss all this. Why? Because that is not something for which we are there. So understand what is your purpose. And then finally, the P process, which is what we call as being professional. Now you're going to tell them, can I get 15 minutes of your time? And in the next 15 minutes, this is what I wish to discuss. So this is what is very, very important. When you speak to them, you have to be very polite. And because nobody gives you infinite time, right? So the first thing that you have to say is like, once you do this, is it possible to get 15 minutes of your time? And in the next 10 or 15 minutes, this is what I wish to discuss. Don't say 30 minutes, 40 minutes. When you tell them 10, 15 minutes, they will also want to listen. So this is what we do in PSP. Is this okay? Is this clear? Boring until here, or can I continue? Or is it boring? Able to follow, guys?
Yeah,
okay.
yes.
Okay. There was a question. Okay, no questions? Fine. So next,
Sir, I
yeah,
have one question.
yeah,
You
yeah.
you said never talk about politics, religion, and
Family.
family. Okay,
Family.
thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank
unless
you.
and until you don't know a person, right? So let's say that Shiv is sitting here. Now I know Shiv as a friend, then I can ask Shiv about his family. But let's say that you don't even know somebody, and if you go and straight away say about your family and this thing, it is not the right thing to do. Always keep this in mind. So whenever you are meeting a stranger, you have to be extremely professional. Be polite. Be sympathetic, be professional. These are the three mantras which should always do. And most importantly, do not go and simply meet a person. Do pre-approach. Now you may ask me, like, I want to collect some information from sabji mandi kind of this thing. What pre-approach can I do? In fact, there is a lot of things you can do. You can look around. You'll see that, okay, there are in fact there was a case of Vijay Ram's coffee which I have given. Okay, so what I specifically did there was that I saw around me there were 15 shops, and then I see that this person is doing solid business. This is an example which I gave you last time. So I kind of told him that, okay, there are so many shops. Why are people patronizing? I mean, why is that people come to you? And then, he had that smile. You get the point, no? So when you kind of give them certain information which they like to hear, right? So then slowly you build the context. That is how it is. That is how it matters. Okay. The third step is needs analysis. The first
Sir,
directly, yeah.
Sir, I have a question on this.
Hmm.
Actually, you said that like if any company is saying no, I mean they are so. I mean, if there we have no response, then we have to proceed with the next. But the thing is that like what if they don't say no, and they say, I mean they give you some hopes that they will give the
Yeah.
data or whatever.
Okay. So to answer
Because
your question.
sir, just one more thing to add on.
Hmm.
Because since we don't have any acquaintance business, every company will definitely will have to approach some of the other company. I mean, we
Yeah.
can't just keep on changing it. That is the
Yeah,
main
yeah.
thing.
So good that you asked, and this is where I'll introduce the concept of jilting. You go to Uniqlo. Sorry, I'm giving French example. So you go to let's say Zara. Zara apparel or lifestyle. Let's say that you go to Zara. So many customers come in. They try their clothes. Okay, they try their clothes, and some of them, let's say that 5% of them buy it. 5% or 1% buys it. So, do you think this particular lifestyle will be impacted if the clothes are left like that? The answer is no. Many people come in, they try and go. Correct? Why? Because there are many customers in B2C. That is point number one. Now, listen to B2B. Now, B2B has many customers. Sorry, B2B has less customers. B2C has many customers, and B2B has lesser number of customers. Now, if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to a company, and the company does a trial of all my products. They give me thumbs up. They say that come tomorrow and we will do a signing, and at the last minute they're saying that no, we don't want this deal. Then who do you think is impacted more, B2B or B2C? The answer is B2B is impacted more, and that is what we call as jilting. And that last minute shock that you give right to us, and that is what we call as jilting. So jilting kind of impacts B2B more than B2C. Now, to answer your question, definitely when we do this, is there a guarantee that we will get? The answer is still a no. We really do not know, because even when we do this particular process, that 7-step process of selling, everything might go well till step 6, but at the step 5, but at step 6, when you want to close a sale, the customer might back out. That is jilting. Similarly, Pritika, people might give you the right impression, thumbs up, so on and so forth, but it could always end in a no deal, right? So that is always a possibility, and nothing can be done. But there is one thing which you need to remember, that there is learning from every stage which we take with us, and then we use it to improve, and that could perhaps help you approach in a more better way. Now, before I told you guys all these things, approach and things like that, many things what people used to tell us is that we go and ask for data. Now, that is what I was telling is wrong. In the very first class when I said that I will do a session on this so that you guys understand how is that one needs to approach. It's not a data collection process. Empathy is very important, right? So that is what we do next. The third step is needs analysis. Now, once the customer, if they say that, okay, we have 15 minutes, and the customer says okay, then it is fine. If the customer says no, I'm busy, then what they do, the salesperson has to do is that, okay, when do you think we can come back to you, and so on and so forth. Now, the most important thing which everybody needs to remember here is that I said that in B2B there is a decision making unit. One person does not make the decision. There are a group of people who make the decisions. Okay, there are a group of people who make the decision. Why? Because let's say that in IIT Madras, if they need to buy complex softwares, then who could be the decision making unit? The director could be one. There is Bharti ma'am, there is Andrew sir, there is Vignesh sir, and there are many other people. It's a group which varies between 5 to 15. So, they debate among themselves and make decisions. So similarly, when you reach out, you have to make sure that you're reaching out to the person who can make decisions. If you're reaching out to a security guard and he says, yes, I'll give you the data, the answer is no, you're not going to get it. You're jilted at the end. So the best thing that you always have to do is make sure that you are actually speaking to the person who is in a position to actually give you the data. So if you tomorrow ask me that, can you get something from IIT, this thing, answer is no, because yes, while position wise I might be better, but then I'm still not a part of that particular organization, right? So that is how it works. So this is something which you all need to keep in mind. The third step is what we call as needs analysis. I told you that in the approach. By the way, is this getting boring, or should I go a little faster? Fine, or go faster? You want me to go fast?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Okay.
just one comment.
Not fast.
So,
Not fast.
hello.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, the thing is that whenever we approach companies, that I will not be directly able to meet the owner of Lifestyle or Zara.
No. That's what I did not say, the owner of Lifestyle. That's what I'm trying to make you understand. Right now, for example, when you have issues, like let's say that when we have issues, you should be knowing whom you have to approach, who can actually make decisions. Perhaps the store manager could make you decisions because the store manager will have authority, right? Or there could be people who are very close to the store managers. See, every organization has a set of people. Some of them speak, some of them do not speak. You can identify those who can help you take to somebody who can establish a contact. That is how it goes always. Keep this in mind always. It's not that directly you'll reach the owner. That never happens. You are trying to reach to somebody, but make sure that the person you're speaking is having some connection, or who can connect you to somebody who can give you a favorable reply. Is that okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. Thanks.
Okay. The third step is what we do as needs analysis. Now, what is this needs analysis? I told you in the selling approach that in B2B we use need satisfaction selling, problem solving selling, and consultative selling. The first thing is to identify the needs the customer has. Similarly, you should also identify the need the company has. Okay, so that is very important. Not saying give me the data straight away. Yeah? In this professional, I forgot to mention one step. In that professional, at the end when you're doing, you say that I want 15 minutes of your time, and in the next 15 minutes, this is what I wish to discuss. Tell it in very, very nice terms. Like this is what I wish to discuss. Would it be possible to spend some time on it? Do you have some time wherein we can speak on this? So now you're becoming professional and you're setting an agenda. That is what we call as being professional. Is that okay? Now that is done. Now once that is done, what did I want to say? Yeah. So now that is done, the next step is to understand the needs analysis. Now, what do you do in needs analysis is you're trying to understand the needs of the customer. Now, when I say customer, you have to draw a parallel and think you are asking the company. You ask them questions. You ask them different questions, and the questions could be open-ended. The questions could be open-ended questions. It could be closed-ended questions. It could be dichotomous questions, so on and so forth. So what are these open-ended questions? Now, open-ended questions are those for which there are no closed-ended answers. It's not yes and no. If it is yes, no, it is closed-ended question. Then what you do is you can say that, okay, how is your business going? Now that's an open-ended question because you're going to get a lengthy answer. You should always follow it up with, you can use a closed-ended question. So you can just summarize it and say that, okay, did I understand it right? If they say yes, that means you have summarized it correctly. That is when you use a closed-ended question. The next step that you have is a probing question. Now this probing question is open-ended question. What do you mean by probing? Okay, how is the business going around? Could you tell me what is happening with the business? Okay, what are the various, you're slowly funneling down. You're probing, and as you ask questions, you will arrive at one point from where you'll start getting your answers. So here what you need to do is follow the 80-20 rule. Now what is this 80-20 rule? Most of them keep speaking all the time. The answer is no. You should speak, since you're trying to understand their needs, the salespeople typically speak 80%. And the customer speaks 20%. And there is a technique which is used. If those who are interested can go back and read a technique which is called as adapt or spin selling. And what is the spin selling? It is also called as adapt in some textbooks. First, you try to understand the situation of the customer. You ask them questions like this: how is your business growing? So that is an open-ended question. How is the competition? Who are your competitors? It's an open-ended probing question. Try to understand the problem customer has. Then show every problem has an implications. Okay, if this problem exists, what happens? This is not solved. Now you're showing that you're putting the customer in a situation where you're showing that, okay, here is a problem, and what happens if this problem remains unresolved? Okay, so you're putting them in situation. Then you say that, okay, imagine there was no problem in place, what would have happened? So now you're actually showing a customer a stage where they can deal with no problems versus a stage where there is a consequence if it is not resolved. And then finally, you have a need payoff. Now, this is a closed-ended question. Typically, you end with closed-ended, which will say that, okay, if I can make an attempt to give you solutions, would you be kind of willing to take this further, so on and so forth? If they say yes, you proceed next. So this is the step 3. And this is how it is also called as adapt, which is the same. In some books, they call it as adapt. But in real world, when you go outside in industries, it is called as spin selling. Okay, there is a case, but I don't think people would be interested in these cases. So I would not discuss this, because then I think it would take a lot of time. But for those who are interested, we can do some other things. Okay, now the most important thing is listening. Okay, so listening skills are very, very important. Okay, the first thing is you need to pay attention. Don't see the most important mistake, most mistakes that we do as individuals is we try to speak when somebody is speaking, right? So never do that. Second thing is monitoring non-verbals. Now, what is this monitoring non-verbals? Let's say that the person is just sitting like this. Now I'm teaching. I know that the cameras are off and some of them might be sleeping as well. Okay, so definitely when I do a face-to-face interview, there is always a chance for me to kind of see the eye contact and correct my body language, right? Yeah. Hello. I think I'm just getting some. Advi? Okay, fine. So I have to monitor non-verbals. Okay, now what is non-verbals? I have to see the posture, how they are responding, whether they are bored or there is no reaction. If he's looking at his mobile, he or she is looking at his mobile, then it kind of gives me a impression that the person is not interested, right? And then paraphrasing and repeating, which means to make sure, I'll come to you, Prithvi, after this slide. Paraphrasing and repeating is like I'm just confirming, okay, whatever I have said, have they understood it? Confirming with what the buyer is saying. You know, when they're telling something, I'm trying to kind of speak and try to understand whatever he or she said is correct, and then I don't make assumptions. So if I do like this, it is not an yes or no. You should ask whether it's a yes, whether it's a no. Yes, Prithvi, you had a question?
It's not related to the specific slide, but
Okay.
I have a use case that is, it's a tea estate business who does exports. So
Okay.
would they classify as B2B or B2C?
No, if the end customer, Prithvi, the point is, if the end customer is a business, okay, then it is B2B. If the end customer is an individual like me and you, it is B2C. You
But
look at who the end customer,
if they're
who is the
targeting
target.
both kind of customers, then
Then it is both. Then it is both B2C and B2B.
all
Both.
right. Okay.
So some companies are both into B2B and B2C as well, right? So for example, Amazon is one company which is into B2C and B2B. You want to buy a mobile phone, you can buy from it. There is also an Amazon business wing, that is B2B wing. So our companies can both be into B2B as well as B2C. Is it okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. So now, then most importantly, encourage the buyer to talk. When I say buyer, you have to say your project companies, right? You encourage the buyer to talk, and it's the 80-20 rule which you have to follow. And most importantly, visualize. When they are saying something, try to visualize, because pictures are remembered better than word, and effective listening is very, very important. I'll not go to the SEER model, and yeah. So then this is one important thing which I love teaching is, why is that the customer wants to buy from a particular organization? There is something called as SPICES model, and this S stands for security, P for pride. So similarly, when you kind of let's say that the company is buying it from some particular vendor, you can ask them, why is that you're buying? And you'll see that out of all these 6 will be matching with their intentions or their motivations, right? So they feel that they're safe, they feel that they're the best. For example, in the school which I am, we have all the branded products. Why? Because we feel that it's needed. It also kind of signifies that we are very innovative. It could also be because the supplier is easy to work with, their pricing is better, and they're sympathetic, which is very nice. Now let's say that everything happens, and then the person is very tough. You cannot work with them. When there are service issues, they're not there. Then it becomes actually a big problem. So these are the customers' motivation as to why they buy. Now, once this is done, the needs analysis is done. So these are the 3 steps. The 4th step is the pitching. Now this is where you start pitching. Now this is where your role comes. Okay. So in the needs analysis, who speaks 80%? The customer is speaking 80%, and you are speaking 20%. That is in the needs analysis. Step 3. You are trying to understand the needs. If you should always make sure that you speak less. You just ask question, try to extract more information from them. Now is your opportunity. Now you do the pitching. And what is this pitching called as? It is called as FABSAB. So if it is a product, it is called as feature, advantage, benefits. And if it is a service, you call it as solution, advantages, and benefits. So this is what you do. Now, what is this features? Features are nothing but the characteristics of the product. and every feature gives you an advantage, and then there are benefits. So if you've not understood, do not worry. So this is one example. Let's say that the need identified. So you have to identify the customer need, and based on that, yes, Ria. Yep, Ria, you're mute. You're on mute. Devesh.
Yeah, hi Ashwin. So
Yeah.
I had a small question. Are you going to share this PPT with us?
No, this is my school. I mean, that's why I said there is no, it will not be shared.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, please ask me questions if it is pertaining to what I teach. Yes, Advi.
Yeah, good evening, sir. So I wanted to ask, so if we are following this approach and we get all the, if we get a yes from the person who's
Yeah,
willing
yeah,
to give the data. This
yeah.
happened to me last term, and that's why I had to push
Yeah, I
the
remember.
project this term. So
Yeah.
what happens is sometimes they back off
No, that's
when
what,
we are
that's
asking
jilting.
for the
That is
data.
always a possibility, Advi. But the thing is, when you're following this approach, the thing is the probability is higher. Again, we are dealing with probabilities. That's what I'm trying to say. If you follow this approach, the probability that you'll be successful is much more higher than you not doing this. You get it? There is always
So
a
the thing is
possibility
there
that
a way where we can probably give them in writing or give them an assurance that
that is for that reason, what you do is, see, most importantly, if you actually pitch in a better way, and if you kind of find some background information, go and able to show them something, then it is fine. You get the point, right? Let's say that you do some pre-approach, you're able to find some much information about them, you are going to give them certain information which they themselves aren't aware of, then they would be interested. It's all business, right? At the end of the day, what
So,
is
for
in it for
example,
me?
they are not willing to. I was dealing with medical data, so
Yeah.
they are not willing to share the patient information, which is
Medical data
valid
will not
also.
be shared. No, medical
Yeah.
data will not be shared because there are consequences. So that is something which you need to understand. So in your case also, when we had a meeting way back then, I had told you 6 months back or before, I told you that medical data will be a concern because the practitioner's license will be cancelled if he or she shares. So
Okay.
it is never possible that they share that particular data. But only thing that they could kind of share is what kind of, during a particular season, what is coming up, what kind of things are being reported, so on and so forth. So that is what comes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It was generic, but is there a way I can make it more appealing that
Yeah, I
rest
mean,
assured this data will not be
the point is
misused?
the point is that you need to do more pre-approach. You need to be more professional in your approach. That is what I can say. At this stage, I can only say that find more, be more professional. Try to find much more information before going. See, in the class, everybody comes and asks questions, but if you kind of read and ask, then the answers that you get is much different than you asking me directly, right? So if you read and ask me certain questions, I might give you a better answer than you just asking me questions like that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's no document that we can provide saying that. I mean, I was ready to even provide a document and sign it
No
up that this
document.
information
No.
will not be shared.
Document is actually given from IIT Madras, where they say that this is an authorization or something. So that is something
That's
which
all
is
that
given
we
by,
get.
yeah. That's it. You get from us. Yeah, Pratyush.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. So I have a little doubt about the pre-approach. So I
Okay.
am thinking about approaching a blood bank for
Okay.
this.
So this particular thing we will do it in the breakout room, just to make sure that the time is saved. We will be showing in the breakout room how is that you need to do pre-approach, and after this also I'll quickly show what is to be done in pre-approach. Is that okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, fine. So now I'll go to the FAPSAP, and any more questions? Advi, if you've
Uh,
done, you can. Yeah.
yeah, I have a question. I just wanted to know, since there's been prior experience in this, which industries are more likely to give good data and
No, it's not about industries, right? This can be approached to structure. This can be applied to structured business. It could also be applied to unstructured business. This is what I want to say. If it's there is a business. So in fact, the challenge might be getting from both domains. And sometimes unstructured business is more difficult to get than a structured business also, because they may not be willing to share because of the mindset, so on and so forth. Then you need to convince. Because when I did it way back then, before we gave this project to you, we also tried it, and we checked for 9-10 days, and initially our approach methods were wrong. We learned from all this, and then once I underwent this, I understood how it is, and then I used a different approach, and that kind of slowly started working. And I kind of said that, look, you are actually going to get business benefits. You're not going to pay for anything. This is being done free of cost. This is a part of our coursework, something like that.
Okay.
You have to show what has been done. You show the tangibles now, what is available with you. You have the project reports, you have the videos, you can just show to them. You can say that this is what the outcome has been. That is what you do. You should now, that is where the features, advantages, and benefits comes. You have to show what is in it for me. At the end of the day, what the person would ask is, what is it in for me, right? So what is that benefit that I would be getting because of this? Because for me, it is free of cost, right? That's what it is. Okay. Any
Yeah,
more
thank you.
questions? Yeah. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Sir, the time you were explaining sales techniques,
Mhm.
so there you said that there can be a case that the customer himself doesn't know their needs.
Yeah, that's right. So
So
Gaurav, that is very important. That is where the critical role of questioning comes. And that questions you can ask only if you do kind of proper pre-approach. If you look things around you, you see something is happening, that is where pre-approach is important. That is why I'm saying that if you go directly and ask, somebody will not be interested because you have not done any homework. Rather, you do a homework and go, the probability is always higher.
the thing is, sir, I approach some businesses. So
Hmm.
what I realize is in many cases they don't know themselves that what is the problem
Yeah, that's what.
in their
That is
business.
why I said you will encounter
Yeah,
two kinds of businesses. One is
yeah,
those who exactly know what are their needs, and one who don't know what are their needs. In the second
yes,
case, it is more challenging because you have to ask the right questions. That is what is very, very important. Is it okay?
yeah. So how to, sir, you know, ask right question, like how to learn
That,
this?
yeah. So that is a big. I mean, that could be a 2-3 session altogether. Okay,
Yes,
that you have to do pre-approach, and if you guys are interested, we can do a session on that. But that could be 1-2 sessions altogether because I'm just giving you basics today. 18 hours of
yes, sir.
content is being done in 1 hour, so that's how it is. Okay.
Yeah, I would
Any
be
more?
interested
Yeah,
in
sure.
that, sir.
We'll do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, Devish.
Yeah, actually, now I'm on the last stage of my project.
Okay.
I have to submit the final project now. So,
Okay.
I so the thing is, I have in my previous proposals, I've said that I'm going to do some kind of testing and all.
Okay.
But I'm having a feeling that the company might not want to test it like before my final
Yeah.
project.
Yeah, see,
So
Devish, what happens is it again depends on type of organization and the mindset they have. When you're doing testing, if it is kind of costing them resources, time, and money, some organizations might be open to it, but some organizations might say that you submit, we'll evaluate the potential. That's always the case, right? Because if I say something, I will have to evaluate your potential and then do it. So that kind of would reduce my risk rather than doing it directly. So that is
yeah,
always a possibility. So yeah, I think that would be better that you give your final reports, convince them as to why you think testing is needed, and from there you can proceed.
no. So how?
Ashwin,
What about my project?
Your project
Ashwin,
you can just
Ashwin,
submit. Yeah.
Ashwin, I'm audible.
Yes, yes, you are.
Sorry to interrupt. Like you can just finish the finish the lecture first, and we can have a
Yeah,
breakout room, and we can discuss in the breakout room for the
yeah. We
personal
can,
question because it will
yeah.
otherwise it will extend too much. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes. So let me, in the interest of time, let me move it. Okay. So what you should always do is you should focus on fab. As I said that the moment you approach, the first thing that the business would have is what is in it for me, right? So it is the features, advantages, and benefits. This is an example. Let's say that the customer's need was to have a better machine. Now features are nothing but your characteristics of the product. Okay. Then from the feature you are linking to the advantages, because the machine has all the components which can install things together. It is the advantages you can quickly put into operation. Because you can quickly put into operation, the benefit is productivity and consistent results. Now how to kind of make a parallel to the your project? The thing is, you say that their need you identify. Okay, you kind of identify the needs from them, and then based on that you have to do some homework and say that this is what I'm thinking, and these would be the benefits, features, advantages, and benefits. These are the things which I think I'm going to do. Now this will take time. Once you identify, you have to go back, do some reading, homework, your BDM thing, your many other things. You have to business analytics, most of these things you have to learn, and this particular step will take time. Once you do this, you're done with this. Is that okay? Then finally you have objection handling. Now what is this objections handling? Obviously, once you it's not that the customer says yes all the time. No, the customer will also ask you a lot of questions. as you proceed. And the lot of questions are asked by the customers, and you have to handle these objections well. For example, when we were doing this project, also many of them asked, why do we do this, so on and so forth. And when we had these objections, we handled this particular things as well. Now this is what we call as objection handling, and this is very, very important that we kind of do it, because when you kind of do the objections handling well, suppose the customers ask you a lot of questions, the companies ask you a lot of questions why you do it, that is what they're raising objections for, whatever you're saying. If this part you're able to do well, the likelihood, if you have come till here, the likelihood that you will convert this is very, very high. In fact, it could be even close to 99%. So these are the reasons as to why people raise objections. I'm not going to go much on that. At the end, people were saying that, Adi was saying that, then they said they no need, or it is kind of wasting our time, so on and so forth. So these are the objections that they may raise. And whenever an objection is raised, what you have to also do is that respond to that objections, and that is what we call as LARC. How do you handle a resistance? It is called as LARC. The first thing is you listen to them completely. Okay, you listen to them and acknowledge it. First thing is, whenever the customer, they say, why should I share things with you? First thing is, listen to them completely, whatever they say, acknowledge it. Then think it, then think of that, and then respond to that. You say that, these kind of projects people have done. So what salespeople, when they try to upsell or cross sell, what is upselling or cross selling? Like, for example, if you go to buy a laptop, and if you want to buy a laptop for 50,000, and somebody says that these are better configurations of 60,000, then why not buy this? And you ended up moving from 50 to 60, that is upselling. Or if you buy some certain accessories along with it, it becomes cross selling. So then you use facts and figures. You kind of say that this is free of cost, and these are the things that we are going to do. This is kind of going to help you in that way. This is how you need to respond. You have to give facts and figures. I'm going to do it in 3 months time. I'm just going to do it in 4 or 5 meetings. This is not going to take much of your time. I'll make sure that you will be yourself happy with this thing. Can you give me some time wherein I can do some preliminary analysis and show to you? If you are happy with it, we can proceed. You have to give them that confidence. And once that is done, you can just say, am I clear on this, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is what you need to do. So there are many things which I'll not touch here. And then finally, last slide is the conclusion. So conclusion is nothing but closing the deal. Now there are 3 possibilities which is possible. Will everything result in a sale? The answer is no. I said, right? You're coming till here, till the 6th stage. 5th stage, you feel, yes, the customer, we are likely to convert, but jilting can happen anytime. So there are 3 possibilities always. The 3 possibilities are, there can be no sale, which means the companies may say no to the data. You might convert. Okay, that is point number 2. And then the customer says that, I need some time to think. And that is what we call a stall. And in that cases, you can specifically ask them, like, what do you think would be the timelines, and when can I reach back to you? Some of them may say that, no, we don't have time, let's discuss it sometime. So that time you can specifically ask them, can I reach out to you after 1 week, or is it okay to reach after 10 days? If they say no, then it means that they are actually not interested. Okay, this is very, very important. So this is what we do. And then finally, what is more important is after sales service, which is this step 7. Now, what is this after sale service? This is the last slide, which I just want to explain, and I'll close with this. Now, this after sales, companies sell products, and after they sell this particular things, they vanish away. For classic example is AquaGuard. If you know AquaGuard, if you want to buy a AquaGuard water purifier, people run and come to kind of install it, right? But when you want service, the service is really, really bad. So it's your responsibility also to be in touch with them. Once you get the data, if you you do the things and you don't report back to them, I think then that point of time your job is done. But in future, when you want something, that network or that relationship doesn't exist, right? You never know how is this going to help you in different ways. Tomorrow the person may recommend you to others. This could help you get a job, because many of the BDM Capstone Project, your seniors have kind of converted into a job based on the project alone. So they have kind of presented the project, bagged an internship. That internship was converted into an offer. There are many, many success stories. So this is very important, that do not lie, always speak the truth. If you have made a mistake, then it's fine, you tell them. Do not over promise and under deliver. So these are the things which you need to do. Be in touch, and even if it doesn't work, just say thanks and ask them that, can you recommend to somebody else? Do you think there is somebody else who would be interested in this? Why? Because it is word of mouth. The person may actually want to help you, but is busy and not wanting to help. But it might so happen that he might recommend you to somebody else. That is also a possibility. So this is what I wanted to cover. Sorry that I took a long time. I took almost 1 hour. But this is something which I roughly wanted to cover for the today. And I don't know if you've understood this, but this is something which I just wanted to say. Something which I do for 18 hours, but I have compressed this for 1 hour so that there is some understanding of this. Okay.